Zora and Me, Epilogue. The justice that old Mr. Ambrose and Joe Clark said they would see to was achieved, in retrospect, swifter than an arrow. Mrs. Jefferson, who had hinted at Gold's real identity in the first place, began whispering to folks that the bride-to-be was indeed passing. For 3 weeks, negroes watched Gold doggedly. A woman said that Gold gave her the evil eye one day, and the next day she broke her foot. A man referred to Gold's cords of blonde hair as a lynch rope. A week or so later, someone cut the yellow-haired tail off that man's only horse and threw it in his front yard. Every day there was a new episode. No one thought her mixed blood was a problem. The problem was that she saw her own people as a liability. So when Joe Clark took a trip home to Orlando to visit with family for a few days, no one seemed to notice that Gold's departure coincided with Joe's trip. Folks were just glad to have the bad omen gone. But I knew that Mr. Clark was behind the end of the scandal. For that matter, I knew Zora and I were too. As for William, Gold's man, Ivory's likely murderer, his business dried up inside of a few months. He left his new home in Lake Matland, ruined and broken, before the end of autumn. So 2 men, one black and one white, both protecting the sanctity of our peaceful world, had dispensed justice in a way so quiet that only 5 people in total ever knew about it. Joe Clark and Mr. Ambrose had done in grown folks' terms what Zora and I had done with our childhood fantasy, rooted out evil and laid crooked tracks straight. Eatonville was never the same for me after that. My child self belonged to the world of the Gator King, to the Eatonville of our childhood fantasies. Whether that world was real or not doesn't matter. It was true. And though it no longer exists outside of me or Zora's stories, I still visit the memories. Zora loved Eatonville every bit as deeply as I did, and Eatonville was just as much a part of her as it was a part of me, but even then I knew that it was in her to go. One day her mother's arms and a best friend's would not be enough to contain her. Soon enough we'd be women, and I'd have to love my friend from afar while I stayed nestled in the bosom of my town. I can't help but wonder how many other hearts, even those of folks who had never set foot in Florida, have bits and pieces of Eatonville in them now because of Zora's travels. It warms me from the top of my head to the tip of my toes to think that folks all across the world have the love and pine in their soul. It warms me even more to know that Zora, with all of her knowing, and her need to talk to the world, planted it there.